Hello, hello! Tony Benson here with Wealth Builders HQ and creator of Patterns in a Flash. We are going to do a review of the patterns of last week, and one of them was beautiful. Little heads up there, so hang tight. First, a disclaimer. I am not a registered broker dealer investment advisor. I will not give you any recommendations or advice. Everything I do here is purely for educational purposes. If I do happen to mention a trade, just assume that it is a paper trade or a practice trade. For regulatory reasons, we do not discuss funded trading. So last week we had a head and shoulders on BMY and Lithium. That's right, they both were head and shoulders. I was like, wait a minute, BMY? Yeah, BMY is not a pretty head and shoulders, but it was definitely there. So let's see what happened. Pretty much nothing. It was, what day was that we did it? You usually have the vertical lines on here. I think it was the 6th. It should have been 10-6. So there's the day we looked at it. It didn't trigger. I did actually get into a trade. Full disclosure, I did fun. It's just a small trade in a retirement account and a couple of my kids' accounts. And there's a really, really small account. Just did a couple of contracts in there or so. But it popped up today. So we'll see. And you can see if we go back here, there's the head and shoulders. Again, it's not pretty. You got a giant, like a big complex left shoulder, a nice head, and then lots of right shoulders. So not beautiful. But the nice part is with today's pop, even though if this rolls back over, even though I don't love it, but if it comes back up and taps to 7150 and rolls over, there's still a possibility to grab some downside there. So, but just remember, full heads up, it's earnings season. Alcoa just kicked it off a couple days ago, and the big banks are coming out tomorrow. Lots of them are. I think JP Morgan's coming out. I think B of A is out as well. A lot of the big financial institutions are out with earnings tomorrow. And this earnings season is probably going to be crazy. I would imagine it will end up bearish. So don't let this bullish engulfing pattern deceive you and make you believe that the market's going up. We've got some technical indication that we may rally, but there is definitely... there's my cat. She's new here. There's definitely some reasons to be cautious. So she picked right now to go crazy. I've had her for about 4 months, so you know if you hear in the background. I haven't heard her growl like that for a while. She did a little bit when I first got her, but she'll just start running all over. So she's still a kitten. She's only about 7 or 8 months old. And she's a Maine Coon, so she's fairly big for that age. But she's also very playful, which they all are. They're very, very playful, very social. She'll jump up here and just lay on my desk right next to me. She comes and drinks out of my water. It's really annoying. She's got a big water bowl out there that's filtered. It's constantly moving. And then she comes over, I get a glass of water, she sticks her nose in it, and she'll put her paw in it. It's really irritating. But so here's Lithium. Now this one is beautiful, and today was not so beautiful, except that this is the funny part, is... sorry, that's really distracting. I'm a little ADD, if you haven't ever noticed. And having a cat go crazy running around, it kind of throws me off a little. So I'm trying to focus here. But you can see the beautiful head and shoulders, right? Left shoulder, head, complex head, but it's still a beautiful head. Nice right shoulder. Not only did it come down and break the neckline, but it came up and tapped it again too. Which this is textbook as it gets. It breaks the neckline. Usually it does it a little bit bigger, but this one didn't. It probably did. Yeah, it did. It did a couple days intraday, and then it closed below it here. Tried to go back above it that day, but failed, stayed below it. Gaps down the next day, tries again to get above it, fails. The next day it goes up and fails again. That was the time that it was obvious that, okay, this thing is beautiful right now. We've got 3 attempts, 3 days in a row. We broke it the day before it closed below it. The next 3 days right here, these 3 days, it tried to get back above the neckline, but it failed every day. In fact, closing on this. So the next day when it gapped down, that was, whoop, green light. And these were not expensive options either. They were $233. I got into some. I remember putting a little position on at some point during this day. I think it might have been down here even. And it rallied up and it didn't close above the stop, so I didn't stop out. The next day is when I think I added to it. I think 233, and then I picked up more at 235 or 240, something like that. And then I peeled out yesterday, half of them. I was trying to get 3 out of them. I had them order out for 3, and it got to like 292, 295. And then it started to turn around. I'm like, I'm not going to fight over a nickel. So I closed out half of it at 290, I think I got. So that was what, 60 cents? Basically 60 cents. So which on $2.40 is, what is that, 30%? And then this morning it gaps down. It's like, woo! I wish I'd had an order out there for like 350. It probably would have hit. But I ended up closing out the other ones at 2, I think, because it started to rally big time. And I waited a little bit longer on this than I probably should have. I expected it to roll back over a little bit, but it didn't. It popped again. I think I got them at 270. So, I mean, either way, I didn't make as much as I was hoping to. But and in some ways, I probably should have gotten out when it hit the target. But at the same time, it looked like with everything that was going on first thing this morning, it looked like it might keep falling. And it didn't. It turned and rallied really quick. So I got out somewhere, I think it was right about 27 or so. So either way, it was still a good trade, right? It still worked out well. It was beautiful. And actually, there's still a possibility if it rallies back up here and rolls over and it finds that neckline again, there might be more downside. Who knows? I'd be a little more cautious with it with the volume that I had here today and this giant piercing. That is an engulfing pattern, I suppose. So 1 out of 2 has worked out beautifully. BMY still remains to be seen, but this one worked out beautifully. A good 30 to 40% rate of return in a matter of 3 or 4 days. BK, let me zoom back out a little bit. This is one that's still on the radar. See, here's one that it just broke yesterday. You'll notice it breaks down yesterday big time with huge volume. Maribozu almost, right? We got a little tiny shadow, right? If it's got no shadow, it closes on the low of the day. That's a Maribozu, right? Some people call it a shaved head, whatever. Or maybe it is a shaved head. I don't know. Whatever it is. Maribozu, I think, is no shadow on top and bottom. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. It's strong. Let's put it that way. Whatever you want to call it, whatever name you attach to it, it's a strong indication. You got massive volume, a break of a support level, and it closes down on the low. This morning it gaps down, drops off, and then turns around and rallies. Huge bullish engulfing pattern. Engulfs not only this day, but this day. And if you've been through patterns of flash, you know that the more days it engulfs, the stronger it is. But you also know that the volume should also be big, and here it is not. It's not tiny, but it's definitely not big. So that's a red flag. Definitely a red flag. You got to watch out for earnings on this. And this is Bank of New York. So they're probably coming out with earnings, I'm guessing. And usually the bubble shows up here. Maybe they have a weird earnings season. 7/15. That actually means 11/15. So they might be a month out still. So there's possibility for that, I think, still to the downside. CFG, this is another financial. This is that symmetrical triangle we were looking at, which was working out great, and then it stopped. And now it's kind of like, who knows? Again, big, giant bullish engulfing pattern. We engulfed 5 days, 6 days, but really light volume. So that is definitely not convincing. The candle looks beautiful, but the volume looks terrible. ENPH, this is that broadening pattern that broke down. Missed the move. Wish I would have jumped on it right there on that day, but I didn't. I had too many other trades on to worry about it anyway. So if this thing pops back up to this trend line, though, I'd be interested in it. Fortinet. That's not Fortnite. I know my son hates Fortnite for whatever reason. I don't know anything about it. Some video game that you either love it or hate it, apparently. So giant descending triangle. We've got, this thing is holding this base right here at 48, which is a good thing, right? Unless it cracks. I mean, I'm not looking at this thing as a bullish trade, because we even have kind of another descending triangle going on here. So this is looking bearish right now. The fact that it held this line makes it actually a good thing, because then if it does break, that line is even more solid now. We've got another confirmation saying, hey, this is a good line. So and here's another one, you see, bullish engulfing pattern, only 1 day and really light volume. So this one is definitely still bearish in my opinion. And there is some massive downside move. This is the longer term potential that I see for a huge move, because there's not much to stop it from that 48 down to 30. So it's a beautiful look on that one. Newmont, we got the beginnings of a triple bottom. In fact, this thing tagged 40 almost. I think it did hit 40 today. Hit 40.04. I kept looking at this going, I looked at it when it came down here, and I thought, well, maybe I should pick some up 40. Then it runs to 45 in a matter of a week. I'm like, I wish I would have gotten on there, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? It's the nature of the beast. Again, I've had, until today I peeled out all but, I think I have 3 positions. I had 8 or 9 positions this morning. I peeled everything off. I took bank profits on everything. I have one that I'm still underwater on a little bit. I'm going to give it a little more time. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If it turns back down tomorrow, then I'll hang on. If it takes off to the upside a little bit tomorrow, I'll bail on it and take a little bit bigger loss, but I'm not worried about it. So we'll see. We have kind of a triple bottom going on here in Newmont, so we'll see what happens with that. And then Tesla, this one's kind of iffy. This is one, that vertical line is where I originally started looking at Tesla. So there's a beautiful double top. If it breaks down, I bailed this morning. It gapped down, and then about 210 is where I got out. Started to rally, have some indication. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take it because I'm not going to hold it over earnings. Earnings comes out next week, and there's no sense in hanging on. My cost basis, I was in and out of multiple different contracts. I got into two to begin with, and I sold out one for a small loss, a couple $100, and I re-entered it at a cheaper price the next day or a couple days later, and then sold it a week and a half later. I can't remember where they are exactly, for a little profit. So I was about break even, and then I added two more in, and I added another one. So I ended up with 4 or 5 contracts with a cost basis of about 10, and I peeled out one or two of them at like 12, and I think one at 13. So I was up a couple $100 on all of them, and then I had 3. When it started to break down here, I had 3 contracts left out of all the ones I was kind of in and out. And one of them triggered, I think, that day for 23. I had an order out there for 23. That one triggered. I had one out for 27. That one finally triggered. And then this morning, they got down to like 28, 28.50, almost 29. I had an order out there for 32. And I was hoping it would keep going, but it didn't. And then it turned around. It looked like it was going to keep going. So I thought, you know what? It was between 27 and 28. I thought, I'm just going to take it. And the stock was around 210 at the time. So I'm glad I did, because they were probably 22 or 23 by the end of the day. I probably saved myself 4 or 5. It was only one contract left, right? But my average cost basis was 10 on those 3, and 23, 27, 27. So I don't know what kind of profit that is, but it's somewhere between a lot and a lot and a half. I didn't run the numbers because when you got 8, 10, 15 trades on, don't care. As bad as that might sound. But welcome to trade. So that is it for the review. This one, Tesla will come off. I just wanted to show this one partly, to brag a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But this is what you get when you have patterns in a flash. The pattern of the week. That vertical line is when I talked about Tesla. We had a double top, beautiful double top, midpoint right here. The trading plan was here. And when you learn to trade the way you do from patterns of flash, you'll learn to get in and out and do what I did here, jockey in and out, end up having a 100, 150, 200% rate of return. So, get patterns of flash. If you don't have it, you got a 2-week trial. You can play with it. Come out. We do a 1-hour web shop once a month for subscribers. There's just a ton of material in there. There's 8 hours of video. There's quizzes. There's flashcards. I mean, it's endless education. So jump on it. Take advantage of it. And let's wrap this baby up the way we should. If you're going to fail at just one thing, fail at quitting. Y'all take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the training. Now, if you did, be sure to give us a thumbs up and go ahead and hit the subscribe button right over here and hit the bell to keep up with all the latest trading content. And oh, did you know that we have a podcast? Supercharge your trading education with the Stock Market Millionaire, which you can find in the description down below. And while you're there, you can also find other amazing free trading resources that I put together just for you.